What are you saying, bro? You ready for another lesson?
Man, I can't wait, man. It's been a while, So.
That's a screw.
You can even tell already, you know?
Hey, right rudder, that's it.
Wheel 01, you can backtrack now.
Needs to be over the field in between the two.
Alright.
What do you know about increasing the angle of bank?
Full speed.
Exactly.
You're fine, you're on the centre line, and then suddenly you're not, bro.
Next time you're in a grass, bro.
That landing. Whew. I'm worn out.
Are you aiming to be a commercial pilot?
Yes, at some point.
Yes, so these calls, they have to be made in a commercial environment. Well done, mate. You're going to make a good commercial pilot.
Thank you.
I'll walk up behind the aircraft.
You're very behind the aircraft. You've got a fuel leak. Yeah.
By the way, go to the whiskey, sorry. The whiskey is quite strong. Mate, you're going to make a good commercial pilot.
You still have control.
No, you tell me when you want to take control. You tell me when you want to take control.
Ever? Do I have to?
Yes. Because I say so. Bear in mind, you're going to have to work with what you've got, normally. What do you need?
That's what. I'll make use of what I've got.
Previously on Future Pilot 901.
Okay, how you feeling?
Feeling good?
Good. You're gonna go solo.
Okay. Student Will 08 is ready for departure. We are off.
Student Wheel 08, surface wind is 330 at 9 knots, we've got one to vacate.
Student Will 08.
Charlie Kilo is right base, get out to land. Student Wheel 08, minute takes and well done.
This aircraft is so nice to fly with.
Yeah, very nice.
Pick a golf, Kid 20 Southing Victoria Airspace now in the climb task chute 3,000 feet, heading 090 degrees.
Just 3,000 feet is very nice and smooth.
Yeah.
It's not like in the cloud.
Golf resume allocation, Sierra November. This comes the procedure report on localized established.
The whole point of getting your IMC is you fly clouds. That's sort of where we are roughly. See?
Okay.
So we came in for an approach on runway 23. We did a missed approach, and now we're being vectored around to do another approach into runway 23.
Ever since I was a kid, I had a dream of becoming a pilot, but could never afford it. One day I decided to stop making excuses, to sacrifice my comfort, to make my dream happen. My name is Dee, and this is my journey. This is Future Pilot 901. Yes, happy Monday, people. Happy Monday. What's up, people? Aviators, aviation enthusiasts, welcome to Future Pilot 901 Live, where we keep our fingers on the pulse of general aviation. The show is brought to you live every Monday, 7 p.m. British summertime. This is Future Pilot 901. My name is Dee, and I am your captain for today. This is, of course, episode number 13. Yep. That is consistency for 13 weeks straight. Hopefully many more to come. Shout out to you for joining me. Guys, I've got some bad news. Some really bad news. Some really bad news. Unfortunately, today's show is going to be a lot shorter than usual. Sorry about that. Work, you know, we have to get that paper, pay for the flying to build up the hours so that we can make the big bucks. Currently, I'm still on my private pilot's license. Still have to get towards the CPL, the commercial pilot's license, and then hopefully airline transfer pilot's license. So, got to get that paper, unfortunately. So, it's going to be a very short show today. Probably about half an hour max. But hopefully we can have a good chat today. Shout out to people in the chat. Shout out to people watching. Make yourself known. Make yourself known. Do not be an unknown entity in the background lurking in the shadows. Shout out to the people, the MVPs from the chat over the last couple of weeks who have made the show even more interesting. You guys are the stars. Shout out to you. All right. Hey, wait a minute. Something came to my attention yesterday. I had a flight yesterday with full circle moment. Somebody who I used to teach dance with. In fact, I used to work for her in her company. And I left dance. I stopped teaching street dance. And years later, I got into aviation, worked through my way to get my private pilot's license. And then I saw her posting that she's working on becoming a pilot. So that was pretty interesting to have somebody I knew from the dance world try to become a pilot as well. So that was a very interesting flight. Anyways, we got to chatting, and apparently, as we were talking about instructors, you know, talking about lessons, because there's a lot of politics when it comes to, I find especially PPL, but I don't know about further down the line, but there's a lot of politics. You know, sometimes instructors stringing students along for the money. Not good. In fact, those were two conversations I had this weekend about instructors stringing students along potentially for the money. Obviously, we're going to give the benefit of the doubt to some degree. But it came to my attention that there are some instructors who apparently even shout at their students. I wish you would. I wish you would. Oh, please, I'm paying you hundreds of pounds. Yeah, given some of that goes towards the cost. Yeah, okay. But I wish you would. Okay, so how can I delete that section? I cannot have that in recruitment. They cannot ask me that question. How did you handle, on your live, you said that you would choke your instructor out if they were to shout at you. That might not be great in recruitment. So ignore that. But yes, I would not tolerate an instructor shouting at me. And in fact, I would go as far as saying that it is one of the pilot competencies to be able to deal with somebody being difficult. The problem is when, particularly for the private pilot's license, when people are new to flying, the flight instructor is basically like God. And so whatever they say goes. So when they get shouted at, usually, interestingly enough, student pilots then feel like, oh, I probably deserved it, right? When actually there is never, if there's any student pilots watching this, there is never a good reason for an instructor to shout at you if you are being reasonable. Now, if you start doing some dangerous things that endanger their life, aircraft, other people, breaks the aviation law, hey, it's a moment of like, hey, stop doing that because that's dangerous. You can't do that. Turn the prop off or turn the engine off. Hey, I get it. But shout, why did you do this? Or you're not flying straight and level. You're not turning correctly. Nah, we can't do that. So if there's any student pilots out there, yeah, part of the competencies is to stand up for yourself, is to be able to, communication, you have to be able to escalate appropriately and stop somebody in their tracks. Hey, excuse me. We're not going to talk like that. I'm happy to take your debrief because you're an instructor. After all, you're vastly more experienced than I. But please don't speak to me like that. So I'm going to walk off and let this calm, and I want to come back and hear your opinions, but we need to talk properly. You have to be able to do that. Anywho, I'm going to get off my soapbox. Anyways, shout out to people in the chat. Thank you very much for passing through. So, topic of the day. Well, before we get to the topic of the day, there's a couple of things that have popped up in the flight bag. Apparently, the CAA is going to change the requirements for a private pilot's license. Apparently, that's what's happening. Should we have a look? Let's have a look. Well, that didn't work. Let's see. Stop sharing, and let's go here.
Qualifying experience will now be 40 hours as a pilot of aeroplanes. More previous flight time, including that on microlights, may now be credited, and approved training organisations will have the option of offering a competency-based course with a minimum completion time of 35 hours subject to CAA acceptance. To improve pilot skills, we're also including training in partial power loss scenarios and the use of VFR moving map devices. For more information, visit our website at ca.co.uk/GA or search online for licensing and training simplification. There are changes to the requirements for obtaining a fixed-wing private pilot's licence. Key ones include that the minimum qualifying experience will now be 40 hours as a pilot of aeroplanes. More previous flight time.
So it looks like the minimum requirement will now be 40 hours instead of 45 hours. How much of a difference does that make? That will be, to be seen. I guess some people do fly through their training, but obviously there's a pilot I spoke to this weekend who made a good point, actually, that the requirements might be at 40 hours, but how many students are actually going to be ready at 40 hours of training? How many instructors are going to feel confident sending their students solo? And also, when it comes to the skills test, an instructor needs to put the student forward for the skills test, basically saying this student is ready, right? This student is ready. This student is ready, and therefore they should be tested. So, you know, will instructors feel confident to put students forward at 40 hours? Yet to be seen. Yet to be seen. Although technically, it's possible. It's possible, but it would be very, what's the word? Exceptional. Let's put it that way. It would be exceptional to be test ready by 40 hours, but doable. Shout out to Ayub. Shout out to Ayub. Thank you for passing by. Yeah, it's been a couple of weeks, man. It's been a couple of weeks. Thank you for being here. Much appreciated. Much appreciated. Okay, let's dip into the flight bag one more time. All right, so I want to discuss something which actually has a relationship to this book that we are reading and we have been reading over the last few weeks. How do you save money as a pilot? How do you save money as a student pilot, especially in the early stages, right? Because I can only speak on my experience so far. I'm not going to attempt to talk about things that I know nothing about. How can you save money during particularly the initial stages of flight training? I say that as somebody who has lived in my car to save money for flying, somebody who did 10 hours of flying lessons before I was ready for solo. Progressed quite quickly, but then I got a scholarship, so I kind of slowed down a little bit. So I got my PPL in about 57 hours, even though I was ready before that, really. But I had to repeat certain things just because I allowed a longer time between lessons. But how can you save money, or what can help you save money during the earlier parts of training? Okay. Pay attention if you're a student pilot, if you are earlier on in your journey or you're considering getting into aviation. All right, so just a really simple thing you can do, right? Very easy, simple thing that you can do. Let me see, make this smaller. Number one, if you can. Now, this depends on your instructor because they have to be happy with you doing this. Yeah. Simple thing you can do is record your flights. Whether it's filming, voice recording, especially when you're doing radio work, voice recording is going to be very, very important. Yeah. It's going to be very important. So you want to film your lessons. Now, why? When you're in your lesson, you're so focused on every single detail. You're stressed out trying to figure it all out. You're not going to take everything in. It's impossible. By filming it, you can relive the same lesson 5 times, 10 times, 20 times, right? Now, a good thing to do is always to question when you're approaching something, do others apply a similar strategy? If you were to look at football, shout out to Man United, we actually won this weekend, thankfully, finally. But if you look at professionals at the highest levels, right? Even somebody like a Usain Bolt. Do you think Usain Bolt would watch back footage of him running at the Olympics finals? Yes, right? They'll watch back. Football teams, they watch video of their last performance, break it down, right? If you look at professionals at the top of their field, they review footage. So instead of living the lesson once and being stressed and not taking everything in, you can relive the lesson 5, 10, 20 times and get more out of it, which in the long run saves you money. Now, if you've got, parents, grandparents who are going to fund you, then you don't need that. You don't need that. You can just keep paying and paying and paying and learning the same lessons over and over again. That is for you to do, but not for me. Right? Because some people, if they're not efficient through their training, they actually won't make it. Right? They'll end up quitting along the way or giving up because they got stuck because of money. So for some people, this is the difference between becoming a pilot and not becoming a pilot, how efficient it can be on the route. So number one, I would say record your flights. Yeah. Number two, I would say detailed debrief. And the recordings helps with this. Detailed debrief. And this is part of coaching yourself. So this fits quite nicely with the next chapter in the book. I'll show you something. And this applies to anything you want to be really good at. I've got this book that I've got notes on my lessons over the years. You can see the book has coffee stains. I've started copying it into this book, right? But it's got all my flights, all the notes, everything my instructor said, you need to be better at this. It goes in here. Anything I notice in my flight, I did this really well. Actually, I really like how I did my climbing, my takeoff. I really like how I spoke on the radio. It was very clear. I used the correct phraseology, terminology. Write it down in here because that's something you're going to want to repeat. And the great thing about this is before your next lesson, you can always whip it open, have a look, remind yourself of what you're trying to work on, what you're good at, what you need to improve on, and then apply the improvements. In doing so, you're basically self-coaching, right? Because in the last episode we talked about, which is also in the last chapter of this book, we talked about how there is a learning that happens from the inside out, right? It's the light bulb moment. It's when you have a realization, bam, oh, that's how you do it. Got it, right? Those realizations. And if you don't reflect, then you can't turn your experiences into insight. So taking the time to reflect allows you to turn your experience into insight. And that is part of self-coaching. So number two, I would say, to save yourself money, having detailed debrief, writing it down, prevents you from having the same information repeated. One lesson could be, £200, £250. You want to pay another £250 to have the same thing repeated? Me. I never wanted my instructor to say the same thing more than once. Twice maximum. But we cannot get to that. And going back to what I said at the beginning of the stream, right? You got instructors who are shouting at their students. Now, I wouldn't tolerate that. But when an instructor sees that you're working hard, it naturally gives them respect for you. And so you have to manage yourself in a way that earns you respect. So whenever I went to, that's the next point. Always read ahead. So there will be a book that has details of the exercises you're going to do, the theory behind the exercises you're going to do, right? And what I made sure I did was I read up on everything we're going to do in this lesson and the next lesson. That allowed me to be super prepared, right? Because I read ahead, I understood the theory, and everything in the lesson was just to confirm what I had already learned. That brings me to number 4. if you want to, save money during flight training, always read ahead, because the last thing that you want, if you don't read ahead, what happens? You end up having things explained to you in the aircraft when you're already trying to figure out like what these instruments are doing, what your flight path is, what they said on the radio. On top of that, you're now having to take on this information potentially for the first time. You don't want that to be the case, right? You want to learn when it's calm, get all the theory in, and then when your instructor is talking you through things in the aircraft, it's just a reminder, right? So you actually lessen the load on yourself. Again, these are things that apply in any area of life when you're trying to learn. Yeah. Ayub says, any good athletes need to find their mistakes to get better. Very true. And that's where I like watching basketball documentaries. I just find it super inspiring. And one of the things I think Jordan, somebody said to Kobe, potentially, is Kobe Bryant was saying, somebody said it to him, I think maybe his teacher or something, or coach, when you learn to fail, then you will learn to succeed, right? Because actually in digging into your failures, you figure out areas of improvement. And the more that you improve bit by bit, you actually become more likely to become a champion. So 100% agreed. Okay, so you used to do that in coding. See, Ayub used to do that in coding as well. It's to anything you do in your life. You can apply this to anything. Yes, indeedy. Yes, indeedy. So, where are we? Key number 4, saving money during flight training, is get a flight sim. Now, there is good ways of doing this and there are poor ways of doing this. What would be a poor way of doing it? A poor way of doing it would be to get a flight sim that is nothing like the aircraft that you're flying, to fly, I don't know, a 777, a 747, an A380, when in your lessons, you're actually using a Cessna 152. That's not going to help you. But think about this. Airline pilots are in the simulator every 6 months. There must be something useful about being in a simulator. Again, instead of being in the lesson once, let's say you were going to practice landing. Well, you can do 20 landings on the flight sim. Then in your lesson, you're already 20 landings prepared. But if you don't do that, your first landing will be your first landing. And that means you're going to need more practice in the actual aircraft and pay an extra £250 an hour to get 5 or 6 landings. So you can massively reduce your cost of flight training by using the flight sim. That will keep you to minimums. Again, I was ready for my first solo within 10 hours of flying lessons. By that point, I had about 160 landings on a flight sim software. Guarantee you I would not have been ready in 10 hours if I didn't have all of these things, because I was doing all these things at the same time. So if I didn't have this, there's no way that I'm ready for my solo in 10 hours. So these are very important. Now, shall we have a look? What kind of things can you get? So flight sim wise, you've got Microsoft Flight Simulator X. I think they released a new one last year. I've heard a lot of hype about that. I've been a Mac kind of person for the last few years, so I've not really got into FSX, Flight Simulator X. I used X-Plane 11. I think X-Plane 12 is the most recent one. The good thing about X-Plane 12 or X-Plane is you can do a shared cockpit. So there is an add-on which is Smart Copilot. Let me know if you need these details. Just tell me in the chat. Smart Copilot, and basically what I used to do is me and my friend who we were student pilots at the same time. He would be at his place, I'm at my place. We would go online and basically share the same aircraft. And what we would do is I would do one circuit, land, transfer control to him, and then I'm a passenger for him doing his flight, and I can give him tips. Because remember, what we're trying to do is build our awareness, right? So I get to practice it, and then I get to watch it done. And then I get to practice it, I get to watch it done. So that then allows us to keep up the motivation, to keep up the learning, to keep progressing. What do you need for a flight sim? Let's see. Very simple. Now, if you're flying like a Cessna 152, a yoke makes more sense, right? There's no point in you having a stick because the Cessna 152 does not have a stick. The Piper PA-28 does not have a stick. It's got a yoke. I would strongly advise getting a yoke. So this is what I've got. Currently goes at about 150 pounds. This and a set of rudder pedals and you're good to go. These are the ones I've got. So let's call it another 100 pounds. So 250 pounds. And then you probably pay about 60 pounds for the flight sim software, 70 pounds for the flight sim software. So 300 pounds. Now, that 300 pounds is probably equivalent to about 1.25 lessons. So you spend 1.25 hours worth of money on a flight sim that will save you hours and hours and hours, which means saving more money. So it's a very, very useful tip. Very useful tip. Get yourself a flight sim software and get yourself some basic. All you need, just these two. Nothing fancy. You don't need a trimmer. Like, you can get by without them. But using the rudders and getting your feet, getting used to movement, so important. And obviously the yoke and the power, that will get you used to all the, primary inputs as well. So that's how you can save money, particularly during the initial stages of training. Now, when you get into, say, for example, instruments, I've heard of people, obviously I haven't done it myself, but I've heard of people saying, look, with instrument training as well, it's really useful, especially for instrument training. Yes, so that is my list of things that you should do to save yourself money during flight training. I feel like I'm missing one more thing. I'm sure it'll come back to me. Record your flights, detailed debrief, always read ahead, get a flight sim. Oh, I tell you what's another really cool thing to do. We live in a world where you can almost find anything on social media. This was a huge thing. Again, what you're trying to do is flatten the learning curve, right? Because when you start learning, it's an exponential, right? You're going like, you're learning so much. What you want to do is make that learning curve flat, so that for you to make the learning curve flatter, you have to reduce how many things you're having to learn in a moment. So if you expose yourself, you're already picking things up. That way, when you're in your lesson, you're not hearing things for the first time, right? It's just repetition. So watching flying lessons, there's some really cool YouTubers. I'll show you some. And feel free to go and subscribe to them because they're really good. The first channel that I will share with you is this channel. And guess what you can do on this channel? You can watch
Will 01, is that Bravo 1? Bravo 1, we'd like to back up to the RP, please.
Will 01, nothing to affect your backtrack to RP.
Roger, backtracking, Will 01.
Well, you knew what you meant.
Or
Nice takeoff.
That's a screw. I was waiting for that because everyone does it.
I'm gonna make sure that you can do it. And you can do it, I know.
Gonna get to the height of a double-decker bus.
How about this high?
Smoothly throttle to idle. Smoothly raise the nose.
This is floating. It's float.
Yes, man. Good food after hard days of flying, bro.
Bro, it's needed, man. That landing. Whew. I'm worn out.
So, by watching things like that, you're exposing yourself and preventing yourself from having to learn everything in the moment. Yeah. Now, obviously, take it with a pinch of salt, because sometimes people will do the wrong things, or sometimes the procedures are slightly different where you are. Maybe you're in a different country, etc., etc. Those are things to be aware of. Now, great question here by Ayub. Does training in a smaller, cheaper aircraft help with saving? 100%. When I first started training, I trained in a PA-28. The reason why is PA-28 is a four-seater. So I knew that when I get my license, I want to fly a four-seater. The Cessna 152 is a two-seater. And the difference is about £20 an hour. That's what it was at the time. So I decided just go for it, pay the more money, £20 more per hour. But really, it wasn't worth it. It really wasn't worth it. Because £20 an hour times what, let's say 40 hours, you're looking at what, £800 difference. And if you do extra hours, more than 40, then that's even more, money that you could have put into flying. When actually you can just finish training in the cheaper aircraft. And once you have your single engine piston rating, you can then just do what is called differences training. So about 2 hours potentially in a different aircraft, and that's it. So you save your £800, and then at the end of your training, you then do differences training that might cost you like, I don't know, £200, for example, and that's it. So overall, it's a saving of 600. So if you can fly in a cheaper aircraft, something like a difference of £20 an hour over 40 hours is a significant amount of money. And that £600 that you save up in the end, you can put that towards hour building, right? So you don't want to spend more than what is necessary. So if you have a cheaper option, go for it. And then once you get your license, you can do upgrades, or you can do, changes, differences training. So that's a really, choose the cheaper aircraft. Yeah, I think that's probably how I'm the best way of putting that. Yeah, so I think that's a pretty good list, and if you're focusing on these, you're probably going to enjoy your flight training a lot more than if you're not putting this kind of work in. Yes, you're most welcome. Do you know why I like to put these kind of information out? Because it was very hard to get my private pilot's license, yeah, I appreciate the sacrifice that it requires. So, but I know Ayub is rich. Ayub is the friend to have. He's rich, man. So this is not a problem for you, Ayub, because this is all cheap stuff for you. Maybe you can even sponsor me. Yeah, feel free. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. One more thing. Gosh, it keeps slipping my mind. All right. Well, anyways, that is in the future. No worries. I'll be waiting. I'll hold you to that. I will hold you to that. If no one else has a question, I'm going to get out of here. Unfortunately, I didn't get to share much about the book today because I have to go out to work. But basically, some of the things I've covered are in this chapter about self-coaching, but I do want to pick out some bits. So I'll probably do that next time. But we've basically covered it without necessarily covering it. Alrighty, guys, remember. I know Ayub is already on the draw. I don't know, Rajesh, I don't know if you're in the draw already. But I'm giving away a brand new Live Your Dream hat, either classic black, cool blue, or my favorite white. People will be entered into the draw. I've decided to extend the draw. To allow more people to get in. So I think as soon as I have 20 people, then we will do the draw. Okay. I do not want to do a draw with less than 20 names in there. What do you have to do to be entered into the draw to win one of these? Just type in Live Your Dream in the comments or in the chat, and I'll be happy to pick it up. All right, people. Well, thank you very much. It's a nice, short, sweet one. Whatever you're doing this week, I hope that you will put everything into it. I know I will. And as always, if you have questions, drop them in the chat. Follow me on Instagram. It's FuturePilot91. FuturePilot91. And usually I do respond to Instagram messages, particularly questions, and I will likely cover the questions on the show. Obviously, leave your comments as well. Give us a like. By the way, news. We actually got to 500 subscribers on YouTube. Thank you very much. That was 500 subs on YouTube. So thank you for making that happen. If you're watching this and you're not yet subscribed, what the are you doing? What are you doing, my guy? You should be subscribed. Otherwise, I will hunt you down. Yes, I will. No, I joke. I tease. All right, people. Well, I'm out of here. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for passing through again. And yes, guys, until next time, this is Future Pilot 901. My name is Dee, reminding you to live your dream. Peace.
Man, from living in my car to finally getting my trial flight done.
Hold it.
To being in this moment.
Hey, come on.
Well done.
Was it worth the sacrifice? Oh man.
Flat. Pull back. May pull back more. Hold it there. Pull back.
Radar 130.
A bit more.
Listen. Was it worth the sacrifice?
So, power right on. Center line.
Listen, if you have a dream, it's down to you to make it happen, man. You might give it everything and it might still not work, but guess what? The journey makes you a better, stronger person. Can you imagine what kind of person you would become if you didn't pursue the one thing that you thought was the best thing in the world? You didn't pursue it. What kind of person does that make you after 20, 30 years of doing that?
One in the circuit.
But when you chase what you believe is the most valuable, the most beautiful, the most awesome thing that you can do, and you give it everything, win or lose, you become a better person.